Yes, it is freezing cold, but we're still having a lot of fun. We just completed our first overlanding rooftop tent trip, which we'll cover in detail in another video. But today we're going to tell you about our setup of the Prinzu rack and the iKamper Mini and why we chose them.
And keep in mind, we are total overlanding beginners. This was our first night camping, so a lot of thought and research went into these, and we wanted to make a video about why these were the best options for us and maybe why they're the best options for you.
Let's show you.
Let's go.
So the first big overlanding decision that we had to make was actually which car we were going to use. We wanted something that was going to be useful, four-wheel drive, ready for any terrain, but also a vehicle that we wanted to use if we ever wanted to stop overlanding as well. We didn't want to stop overlanding and say, oh my gosh, we don't have a use for this car anymore. So that's why we went with the Crosstrek, and it all started there. So from that starting point, we knew we wanted a rooftop tent. So we thought long and hard and did a lot of research about what kind of rack we wanted to go on top of the Crosstrek. So our options were the OEM rails with the stock crossbars, a no drill option, and this Prinzu drilled option. What we went with was the drilled option for safety reasons. When looking into the no drill option, although that is attractive because you don't have to drill new holes in the car, we just weren't comfortable with the fact that it's essentially glue holding everything that you put on top of the car to the roof of the car. We wanted something that was really secure. That's why we went with it. Also, the one that we went with is quite low profile, which is the big advantage over the stock rails for sound reasons. When you drive with a rooftop tent on top of your car, you get a lot of wind resistance, and that equates to a ton of sound. For us, we can get up to 75 miles an hour with this low profile rack without having too invasive of sound. I could not imagine what this would sound like with the wind flowing through this with the rooftop rack on. It would be tough to drive around that way, that's for sure. This makes it quiet and safe and perfect for what we need it to do, which is overland.
Next up, we have the tent, and this was such a big decision for us because, let's be honest, the rooftop tents are not cheap, and this really is the basis of how good or a bad time that we could have while overlanding. So the first decision factor when we started looking at rooftop tents was, do we want a hard shell tent or a soft shell tent? And this was actually pretty easy for us because we like the look of a hard shell tent a lot better, specifically on our car, and just the ease and convenience of setting up and taking down a hard shell tent is just so much quicker and easier than doing the soft shell version. So once we knew that we had a hard shell tent, we then had to decide on what type of shape or design we wanted for that hard shell. There are options that pop up in all four corners, and then there are clamshell options like the one that we chose. We ultimately went with the clamshell option because we do have a smaller car. Driving the Subaru Crosstrek, it's a little bit shorter than some other overlanding vehicles. So when we were looking at the ones that popped up in all four corners, they were longer front to back, and we would have had a little bit of a visual hangover from the window, which we just didn't want to see out the windshield on our long drives. There were a couple other benefits to this as well. One being some of the headspace that you get. It's tallest in the middle, which is really nice to be able to sit up straight and be able to hang out in the tent and not just have kind of this horizontal sleeping space. And what's special about the iKamper clamshell tent is that it was actually long enough for Eric to fit in because he's 6'3" and he needed a little bit of extra room.
Hey, I'm 6'4".
Okay. Regardless, 6'3" or 6'4", Eric fits comfortably in here, and that was definitely one of the reasons we wanted to go this route. Now, a concerning factor that I had read about the iKamper was the comfortability. So there's actually only a really thin mattress pad that comes with the iKamper, and you can't fold up the iKamper with anything else inside of it besides that mattress pad. And I had read some concerns about the comfortability of the mattress pad. Now, we only slept in it one night, but I'm happy to report we didn't have any issues with the mattress pad. I could see it being a little bit more comfortable if there was a thicker pad in there, and maybe we'll look into that down the road. But for right now, it's totally fine for us the way that it was, and we were able to sleep comfortably.
So that wraps up our overview of the big tentpole elements of our overlanding setup. We are happy to report that we are very, very happy with our decisions.
If you're getting into this, you know how much stress is riding on kind of these baseline decisions, and having tested them out and having everything have gone so well, it's such a load off our shoulders. So that's obviously not a comprehensive list of all of the gear that we took on this trip. There were a couple other items that were really critical to this trip's success and our comfort. One of those being a Guana electric cooler. Which was just so key to have food available for us to cook and to keep it cold on our road trips. We honestly have been using it at Airbnbs too, which has been really nice. The second item being our Jackery solar powered generator, which obviously is powering our electric cooler, but it's also powering our camera equipment, our computers, our phones, maybe a hair curler. Those two items paired together have definitely helped us on this trip and made it the success that it was too.
So if you want to know more about our other gear that we got for this trip that is critical to our setup for overlanding, let us know, and maybe we'll cover it in a future video.
We will. Let us know in the comments if you have any other questions too about overlanding. We're obviously new to this and kind of breaking down the barriers for other people who are new. So this has been really excited for us to get into, and we hope to help anybody else who's interested in getting into this too.
All right, it's time for us to hit the road again. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more adventures like this. But for right now, we're back on the road.
We'll see you.
See you there. Ah!